Today I'm talking about sentences. Most of us have a bit of an instinctual understanding of what a sentence is. We might be able to recognize that if somebody writes, ran up the stairs, that wouldn't be a complete sentence. We don't know who ran up the stairs. Alternatively, if somebody wrote, Alex, the great Minecraft explorer, we would know that isn't a sentence either. It's missing something. So what does it take to make a sentence? Every sentence is made of at least one clause. A clause is made of at least two things. So a sentence has one clause that is made of at least one clause. It can have more. That is made of a subject and a predicate. A clause Simple sentences will have one subject, like Steve, who mined for emeralds, or like emeralds that are rare. Mined for emeralds is the predicate of the first sentence. Are rare is the predicate of the second. You can combine two clauses together in one sentence. You can combine them with a semicolon. We can also join sentences together using conjunctions. Steve mined for emeralds because emeralds are rare is using what is called a subordinating conjunction. Because is joining those two sentences together, but it is subordinating emeralds are rare to the first part. And we don't need a comma there. Steve mined for emeralds, and emeralds are rare. And is what's called a coordinating conjunction, so it is going to need a comma. So some conjunctions, you don't need a comma. Some you do. Here's a list of coordinating conjunctions. If you're using two coordinating conjunctions to join two clauses, you're going to need a comma. The zombie ran and the skeleton danced. We have a comma there. Now note that some of the time when you use these coordinating conjunctions, you're not going to be joining clauses, and you won't need to use the comma. If I say apples and oranges, I am not joining two clauses, and I don't need to use a comma before and, unless it's part of a longer list. Apples, oranges, and bananas. But if you're joining two clauses, you are probably going to need to use a comma if you use a coordinating conjunction. Now, if you use a subordinating conjunction, it depends. Whether you use a comma or not depends which part comes first. In the example I used before, Steve mined for emeralds because emeralds are rare. We don't use a comma, but if we start with the subordinating conjunction, we will use a comma. Because emeralds are rare, Steve mined for emeralds. In the second one, we're going to use a comma. I often see samples of writing that look like this. The ocelot jumped down from the leaves. It darted between the trees. I almost couldn't reach it. Here we have commas separating clauses. The ocelot is the subject of the first clause. The predicate is jumped down from the trees. A comma is not enough to separate it from the next clause. We need a semicolon or a period, and then a capital for the next part. It darted between the trees. Comma, the comma itself is not strong enough. We could put a semicolon, we could put a period, or we could put a coordinating conjunction. It darted between the trees and I almost couldn't reach it. I would like you to go back over what you wrote and check, are you using commas in places where you need to use a conjunction with that comma, or where it would be better to separate your sentence into multiple sentences? If you're not sure whether you need to split something apart or add a conjunction, ask yourself, does this sentence have one subject? Can you find what that subject is? Does it have two subjects? If it has two subjects, do they share a predicate? Or do they have two separate predicates? If each of your subjects has a separate predicate, you need to separate it. The semicolon, a conjunction, possibly with a comma, and the conjunction, or by dividing it into two sentences. So read back over what you've written and work on your editing. Feel free to email me with questions or comments. Bye for now.